As more states pass pro-life laws protecting unborn children, leftists are still raging mad that they can't get abortions as easily as a Happy Meal at a McDonald's drive-thru. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has declared a global health emergency over monkeypox, while the Biden administration is on the verge of doing the same here. There have been more than 2,600 documented cases so far in the U.S. Biden's Health and Human Services Secretary now says the virus is a 10 out of 10 on this administration's scale of concerns. And Democrats are now demanding the White House roll out a nationwide vaccination plan. And for some reason, we can't talk about how all of these problems can be traced back to people passing themselves around like a bong at Woodstock. So to anyone worried about getting knocked up on a one-night stand with a stranger and nary a Planned Parenthood in sight, or so afraid of getting monkeypox that you're willing to spend hours in line for a vaccine, I have a really, really simple question. Just one. Have you tried not hoeing around? I'm going to say something radical here, I know that. But seriously, has anyone considered that so many of the problems we've spent all this time fighting about could be avoided entirely if people just stopped sleeping around? Think about it. The left's love of abortion, wanting to put Plan B in high school vending machines and hand out abortion pills in Pez dispensers, letting people order them in the mail like a pair of shoes, that's not healthcare or reproductive choice or whatever other bullcrap turn of phrase they want to throw around this week. That's a license to hook up with anything that moves. There's a name for it, but if I say it here, I'll get booted off of every social media platform that's fine with advertising baby murder, but God forbid we offend people with the truth. But you can hide behind the smokescreen of rape and incest and medical emergencies all you want. We all know that the vast majority of abortions are elective procedures done out of convenience, and they happen because a woman got pregnant by a boyfriend or a hookup or a one-night stand with a guy with whom she never wanted or planned to have children. Don't believe me? Here's one lunatic who actually wrote a piece this week entitled, "I had a carefree sex life. The next generation will have fear." Here's how she starts it. "I've never had an abortion, but I've had a lot of sex. And when I've been asked what my number is by friends or lovers, I laughed it off because I had never considered counting a complete tally of partners." She hasn't kept count, but she thinks the number of sex partners she's had might be around 17. Some key lines from this article include, quote, "Keeping sex fun is not the most important conversation to be had right now, but it cannot go without being said." And if every man went into sex thinking, "Do I want to have children with this woman?" the idea would be seen as patently absurd. No, it's not. That's exactly the question you should be asking before you copulate with somebody. You just don't like it because it gets in the way of your being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, with no consequences. So instead of you taking responsibility and exercising some self-control and basic decency, 1 million babies have to die every year so that people like you can pass yourselves around like a liquor bottle at a frat party. Sounds like a great way to get something penicillin won't cure. Speaking of which, lo and behold, now we've got monkeypox. Because it turns out getting pregnant isn't the only negative consequence of hooking up with random people. Now, to be fair, and to appease the fact checkers, monkeypox isn't technically an STD, just that it tends to spread through prolonged intimate contact with someone else's sweat and bodily fluids, like rubbing up on them or rolling around in the same bed sheets. And the basic data shows it's been spreading most among gay men who have sex with multiple partners. One study published in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at infections across 16 countries between April and June and found that 98% of cases were in gay or bisexual men, and that infection occurred through sexual activity 95% of the time. Here's Slate, which is about as left-wing as they come, admitting that, yeah, monkeypox really only spreads through sex and mostly among gay guys. But even though this is a disease that transmits via sweat and has primarily been found among gay men, we should definitely not talk about that.
You know, obviously, it's really important that we do not use this moment to propagate homophobic or transphobic messaging.
Funnily enough, no one seems to have passed this memo off to New Yorkers because here's a line of people wrapped around the building to get a monkeypox vaccine. Or here's a novel thought. Stop sleeping around. I know this is a mind-blowing concept here, but you're far less likely to find yourself facing an unexpected pregnancy if you don't shack up with a whole bunch of people you don't want to have kids with. You're not nearly as likely to end up with a case of skin boils because you rolled around in everyone else's juices. Whether you're straight, gay, the most run-of-the-mill heterosexual on planet Earth, or a two-spirit genderqueer who identifies as a ficus tree, there's a really, really simple way to avoid these problems. Have some basic dignity and respect. For yourself, if no one else. Stop selling yourself like a slab of discounted meat that's about to expire. Stop trying to find your purpose or your worth or your affirmation or your entertainment in hooking up with anything that has a pulse and 5 minutes of free time. Or in someone who has no problem hanging out with you, but has no interest in monogamy, much less marriage. If that's where you go looking for answers, I promise you, you will find nothing but more problems. Have some freaking standards. Inflation is sky high, gas prices are unmanageable, cities and towns are straining under the weight of illegal immigration, and I am so sick of having to put a stopper in these much more pressing issues to have national debates over how many babies we can legally murder, or whether we should declare a global health emergency over yet another virus, all because you can't keep it in your pants. And that's your reality check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.